Minister, as many of my colleagues have already said, this is not about the bill, there's no issue with it or with the amendments, but it's about transparency and it's about ensuring mistakes of the past are not repeated. Now, a doctor or a clinician should be obliged to inform a patient of the right to a Part 5 review at the time of diagnosis. But this is not the case in this bill. There is an absence of a statutory duty of candor in the bill, and it does not place an obligation on the doctor to inform a patient where an error was made or an inaccuracy was discovered. And it doesn't matter how big or small that error is. I believe every woman has the right to know that information about a test result. So if a woman undergoes a smear test, and we want to encourage as many women as possible to undergo smear tests and to avail of screening, women have to have confidence in the system. They have rights, and those rights must be protected. So if mistakes are made by a doctor or by a service or by the system, there must be a forthright acknowledgement of those mistakes. It's not fair to put the responsibility on the patient and place no obligation on the clinician or the service to make an open disclosure where a mistake has been made. And that applies to all screening services or tests of any sort, cancer screening or otherwise. The onus should not be on the patient to have to request a review or a reply or an explanation. It should be her right to receive that. And I suppose you argue that the anonymised audit means it will not be possible to identify a patient where a slide reading is discordant, but it would be possible if you redesigned the system to allow for it. I mean, especially in the case of severe misreading outside of the acceptance margin for error. There are so many people who have been failed by the health service. And I think the biggest hurt of all is the failure of the health service, the HSE or the hospital, to acknowledge mistakes and to give people answers or to issue an apology. And instead, people are being forced to go to court to get the truth. They are put through a lengthy legal process, often at a great financial, but a bigger emotional toll to get truth about an issue that affects them or their family. So I've heard from families who've lost children in childbirth due to mistakes made in the hospital, or a child who's been severely disabled. And as well as dealing with the loss of a child, they're also dealing with a wall of silence as to what happened, and it forces them to go to court. The same with families whose members had organs retained without their knowledge or agreement, and again, no answers. And it's just not fair. So there is a need to pass this bill, and we have a duty as legislators to ensure it's thorough before it's passed, so that the mistakes of the past cannot be repeated. And we need a better system going forward, and we need to give people confidence in their health system that it will be better in the future than it has been in the past. Mistakes will be made, but mistakes must be acknowledged and owned up to and explained to the people. Thank you.